Yes, I'm continuing my coverage of round 2 of Kendrick's 2024 with my analysis of Dee-1's Call It Like It Is. So, that's Lecrae and now Dee-1, another Christian rapper who gets his shine, who just has this spotlight put on him thanks to Kendrick's reference, and is now using it to be like a showcase. So it's sort of like, oh, you're interested in what I'm about? Here is what I'm about. And much like with Lecrae, it just makes me happy. It makes me happy because it's someone who I've heard of and I didn't really know their style, and now I feel like I have an idea of this sort of fun, very Nolensy style rapper. Sorry, I'm going to be pronouncing New Orleans Nolens because that's just how I was told to pronounce it once by someone who's from there. So if that seems pretentious and try hard, what do you want from me? That's probably what I am. I really enjoy his style, his delivery, his humor. I like the way he integrates his faith into his music. I don't know, I'm just like, all right, like I'm on board. Like I'm on board with Lecrae and I'm on board with Dee-1. What's interesting is, round 1 of Kendrick's 2024 adventures, the beef, the negative side, started off with Like That, and I'd say it ended with the Not Like Us video. And I think round 2 really started with this Super Bowl, this kind of different movement, maybe more in a positive direction as opposed to a negative direction. I referred to it as potentially Feeb, as the opposite of beef. That is what's happening now with him calling out people, and people are making music, but like they're making music out of like love and joy and the desire to see some kind of rebirth in hip-hop culture and in rap music, as opposed to the sort of the negativity of just trying to do a Drakeotomy and get Drake out of there. We're not trying to cut anybody down, we're not trying to yank anybody from the stage, we're trying to shine spotlights on people. And it's nice that the one real negative thing that came out of this first salvo of Kendrick 2024 Part 2 was the negativity around the debate whether or not he should be performing at the Super Bowl because it's in Nolens and it should actually be Lil Wayne. I did a whole video about that where I kind of debunked that concept, how it doesn't really make sense with the history of the Super Bowl. But still, I want to remind you of one of the main points from that video, which is that rap music is fairly unique because it is so powerful and so influential, so national, so international, yet it is one of the few things in this country that has maintained its regional nature. It's very, very regional. The other examples I gave is like basically food. That's the only other thing that we allow to stay regional. And even that kind of shifts, Every time I see that In-N-Out Burger makes it to another state, I cry. Because it's like, no, I don't want In-N-Out Burger to get closer to me. I want to have to go all the way to California to eat In-N-Out Burger. That's part of California culture. I don't want to be at a Denver airport eating In-N-Out Burger. Anyways, this regional nature of rap music, obviously Not Like Us was a very strong reminder of that. I would say the rest of the songs of the beef were sort of general and out there, and you had people like Jack Antonoff making beats, Whereas Not Like Us was very consciously an LA song by an LA producer, by an LA rapper. And then we have Let the Party Die. So Let the Party Die is not regional at all. It's super jazzy, low impact, soft beats with just bars and bars and bars and bars. Lecrae's song, Ain't Let the Party Die, same thing, trying to imitate that whole aesthetic. Now, Dee-1 has the foresight to one of these things is not like the other and just totally avoid that formula altogether. He reintroduces regionality in this song, which sounds very, very Nolensy, New Orleans-ish, okay? Nouvelle-Orleanesque, okay? It's regional, and what's great is that a song that is thanking Kendrick, that is in a Nolens style, reconciles the issue. It helps to solve this issue that we have with, should he really be performing in Louisiana? The sound that you hear when you're listening to Dee-1 is sort of the sound that you should be hearing instead of, all right, at the Super Bowl. What you should be hearing if the regional nature of Super Bowl performances was a thing, which basically it's not. It's a very intermittent thing. So this song is just so different. It's so different from the other two. The first time I heard it, I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this, but I didn't know if I didn't like it because, like, you know, I'm not a Southern rap guy. Like, I like a lot of Southern rap, but that's, like, not my thing. Did I see the Hot Boys in concert? Yes, I did, okay? So I'm not saying, like, I hate this stuff. You know, I own several albums from Nolans, you know, Master P, all that, Hot Boys, BG. I think BG is actually my favorite album of that whole period. Chopper City in the Ghetto, it's a really, really good album. It's a little slept on. I mean, it's popular because of the song Bling Bling, but anyways. So, you know, this song is just gloriously or terribly Nolansy. The first two songs had basically no drums. This has huge drums. The other songs didn't really have like a proper chorus. This is all chorus. This is just that kind of chorus, like the previously mentioned Bling Bling, or like, na na na. That kind of beat you over the head with its catchy, repetitive, screamy, kind of silly nature. Because you just, okay, if someone came up and said, Sky, you get all paid, you get a round trip ticket to Los Angeles to see Kendrick Lamar perform, backstage passes. I need you to sing Let the Party Die. I'd maybe get it. Maybe. Da, 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 da. Okay. You hit me up in 10 years and say, hey, can you sing Call It Like It Is? Call it like it is, or call it like it ain't. I'll be right there with it. And it's important because it's important because, okay, now listen, this is where I'm going to start doing some interpretation for very good reason. There has been some skepticism about super duper 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 white dudes saying things definitively about rap music. I'll talk about that in a second. I am not saying I am the expert. I am just saying this is my interpretation. My interpretation, this fits. This is very important. It's important to sound Nolansy because of the nature of music in New Orleans, in Nolans. Think of a song, like one of the first songs in rap from Nolans, Jubilee All. If you don't know it, I'll put a link to it. Your life will be much better if you know Jubilee All. You know, do the juba 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 Jubilee All. That's basically how it goes. Twerk, baby, twerk, baby, twerk, twerk, twerk. 1993, the song popularized the term twerk, in case you don't know. And you know, it's a silly song with a silly chorus, but like the truth behind Jubilee All, the deeper truth behind what we might perceive as silly music from Nolans is very fascinating and is drenched in American history, is drenched in world history. It sounds like that for a reason. The bounce in Nolans music is not something that someone came up with. It is inherited over centuries. Just as a small example, I mentioned twerking. Twerking is actually a dance from West Africa called the Mapuka. It goes back centuries. Okay? I don't know how Miley Cyrus time traveled and went to West Africa a couple centuries ago. Okay? Like, that's the actual origin of that dance move. And it's a reminder of the fact that music and culture from Nolans maintains a closer relationship in general to Africa and to West Africa in specific, just for many different reasons. Some of it has to do with who lives there, because it was, you know, mostly controlled by the French. There's a whole bunch of reasons that we could get into. But it's fascinating because so much of American culture had to go through Nolans, right? So much of Black American culture, and therefore American culture, because most American culture, I would say most American culture that is specifically American culture comes from Black American culture. A lot of that is connected through Nolans, and then that is the connection that makes it more direct to Africa. So again, just a little caveat, I'm not an expert on Black American culture. This is just a hobby I picked up in the lobby. I'm a tourist to this culture. I know, okay? The same way that I never lived in Louis XIV's court in Versailles, I do not know of what I'm speaking. I'm just trying to take what I know, like my analytical framework and my education and my love of this music and my love of this culture, and give more than I take. But of all the things that had been said yesterday, and if you haven't been following the what's the dirt question, it's pretty fascinating. It's kind of sad, actually. It's actually really sad. I mean, it's sort of funny, but it's really sad. There's a video in which Justin Hunt, he described his problem with what's the dirt, who's from Newfoundland, Canada. The way that he was describing, and the term that Justin Hunt used is one that I want to make this popular, okay? Not in the position to properly contextualize. That's the way that Justin Hunt said it. And I think that is the kindest and the most true way of saying, essentially, shut up, white boy, which is a totally fair thing to say when white boys are talking about rap music or other, things they don't know about, okay? If I was talking about reggaeton, it'd be the same thing, right? But the way that he says it, the way that that's said is so precise, not in the position to properly contextualize. It makes it not about race. It makes it not about class or anything. It's just the truth. So I am not in the position to properly contextualize. I'm tempted to turn that into a placard or something that I have behind me. Instead of live, laugh, love, you'll look behind me and it'll just always have this little sign. If I'm talking about rap music, it says not in the position to properly contextualize. But anyways, one thing though that I think is important, is just that I'm a scholar, so that's what I try and do. And so I've studied a lot about New Orleans rap. I've spent very little time there. I have some family down there. I may check it out. But the thing that New Orleans is known for is a party. How to party. What is the best reason to party? Okay, I'll let you think. What is the best reason to have a crazy big party? Did you say death? Because if you did, congratulations, you're giving a proper response, okay? Again, this is that connection, more direct connection to Africa, is the belief that death is the cause for a party, a celebration. It's a rebirth. This song is a party for a reason. You maybe have heard the term second line. So much of American culture comes from the fact that the second line exists. When there's a funeral or any kind of big event, but we'll focus on the funeral for a second, there's the people up front who are carrying the casket or accompanying the casket and the mourners, and they're all dressed and they got their veils and they're wailing and they're crying. And then there's a second line of people behind who have drums and horns and who are making music and who are partying. And that complexity is sort of at the heart of this ritual and very much connects it to Africa. There's some great documentaries on the second line, which I'll include in the description. At least I'll include one. But then beyond that, it's also a reminder that if you are a Christian, as Dee-1 is, then death is not the end. That's the whole point. Death and rebirth are part of Christian ideology. I think that's what this song is to me. This song is the second line. We are celebrating the death of the party. The party is dead. The party being mainstream rap, the party being whatever it is that Drake represents, the man that he represents, whatever it is that was rap culture before 2024, in all of its excess, in all of its capitalistic instincts, in all of its baseness, is dead. And now we're partying. And if you are a Christian, you know that nothing is dead. Everything is reborn. And if you are a Christian, you know that when things are reborn, they are reborn pure. Okay? That's why you have to be born again. Okay? To quote the Congos. That's why you have to be born again. So to me, that's how I read this song. I read this song as the second line. The first two tracks were sort of mourning the death and discussing the death, and now we're in the back and we're partying and we're enjoying this moment. And instead of sitting there, we're call like it is, I call like it ain't. Thank you for auditing the Always Positive New Music Review Show, hosted by a French professor who is still recording in his bathrobe, who is still having to watch his baby monitor very carefully to make sure my 2-year-old is not awake. It's a nice morning though. I don't know what I'm going to do when it hits the winter. Hopefully I'll find some more space. So I'm saying this is very not Nolensy, and I'm referencing the foundations of bounce music. I want to be careful. I'm not calling this a bounce track. It doesn't really bounce. It has some bounce to it. But the main thing is that it has that really strong beat as opposed to the other two songs. But it doesn't have the feeling of the Trigger Man beat, which is the basis of most bounce music, but it does have you have that head nod, and I really feel that the repetitive and catchy nature, the brutality of the chorus is in line with the sort of no limit spirit. I think the cover is also important because, it's taking the shoe motif and instead of, excuse me, I don't edit my videos. I almost just got hiccups on camera, which would have been that would have been an ender right there. I would have had to record this video tomorrow. My grandfather once had hiccups for months. Instead of it being black Air Force Ones or white Air Force Ones, they're like black and white and camouflage Reeboks with camouflage shoelaces. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's hilarious because it's understanding its position. I really get a really good vibe off this Dee-1. This Dee-1 character is giving me a very positive feeling because it's just like so kind of playful but also meaningful. I think the image of camouflage, I believe, as far as I understand, camouflage is perhaps more popular in Nolan's fashion, and then beyond that, the theme of soldiers is huge in Nolan's rap. I mean, the No Limit soldiers and the Magnolia soldiers from Cash Money, there's sort of like a whole soldier thing, and then that's a whole theme in this song. That's a whole theme just in general, with Kendrick himself asking for soldiers, like, are we going to be soldiers in the street killing each other, or are we going to be soldiers fighting for good? Depending on who you ask, are we fighting for Jesus? Are we fighting for the Black American causes? Right? What are we fighting for, or who are we fighting against? All of this kind of highlights the deceptively smart nature of this. Now, feel free to get angry at me for saying deceptively smart, because you're thinking, oh, Sky, are you just assuming that he's not intelligent because he has a Southern accent? Maybe. The bias against Southern accents is very real. It's like it's a problem which I have to struggle with myself, and it's not cool. But it's more his delivery. It's just how sort of out there with his delivery is, how much his delivery kind of fits in what I consider to be sort of, less researched, less thought out raps. I mean, if you sit there and you listen to Jay-Z and then you put on Cash Money Records, which is what I used to do back in my day, that's what I used to do. I used to alternate between Volume 3 and Chopper City in the Ghetto, like it's a very different sort of presentation of oneself that leads to believe that one is smarter than the other. But I think that's really deceptive here. I think that he has like this unassuming intelligence that comes through in this song that I think can be summarized with the opening lines. I don't care what people think. I'm trying to make these people think. Like, that sounds kind of dumb, but it's really smart. It's like really a great way to put it, because it's taking these weird fixed sentences, caring what people think, trying to make them think. Like the word think itself has so much dynamism in that word. So that just the same word can mean how you are perceived of by other people. And then making them think doesn't just mean make them think at all, but like you're trying to make them think very specific things. It's wonderful. And the same basic idea that it's the intelligence. I often talk about the intelligence of people who make you laugh, right? So I do a fair amount of work with RX Nephew because I think he's just a great rapper. I think he's super important. I think he's going to be. He already is influential. I think his influence is only going to grow. But he often sort of puts himself forward as kind of an idiot, but I think he's actually really smart. And one of the ways people are smart is if they can make you laugh. Well, that's true, right? Because humor comes from intelligence. That's so just anyone who makes you laugh inherently is smart. It doesn't matter how they make you laugh. Okay. There's another thing, which is I think, and this is a problem that intellectuals have, people like myself, people in academia, I am a full-time French professor, we often look down on people of faith. We sort of mistake their faith for credulity, for being gullible, and I think that's a big mistake, particularly because the very faithful have a very specific kind of intelligence, which the rest of the population does not inherently have. Very faithful people put a lot of time analyzing texts, interpreting them, creating analogies to other times and other events and other moments. Just by being very faithful, you end up having to be very analytical and have an ability to apply different sort of rubrics of thought to other situations. So if I were a teacher and you told me, okay, Sky, you have two students. Yeah, okay. One of them reads the Bible or the Quran or whatever for 10 hours a week. The other falls asleep watching Friends every night. Who do you think is going to be a better student? I could just tell you, the student who falls asleep watching Friends every night, which would have been me, by the way. I don't like Friends, but you know, that would have been me. That was me. So, anyways, let's not confuse faith and credulity. Credulity, Nolans. I'm using all these fun words. Smash the like bucket if you like it. Subscribe. AVAA stands for awesome video as always, and I will always heart those comments. I don't know if I got to all of them on my Kendrick video, because that video blew up. That's awesome. Thank you. So the whole song begins with the line, "I want to be empathetic, my heart like Dee-1, but I will." The quote from Kendrick Lamar. And what's great, this is one of my favorite parts of the Kendrick song, because there's that little break. And we don't know what he's going to say. And we sort of imagine he's going to go off in some sort of orgy of violence. But here, Dee-1 fills in that break for us. We can imagine this whole song is fitting in that little break of the song. As a matter of fact, I'd like to do that. I'd like to make a version of the Kendrick song where, but I will, and it stops. Okay, so you could do a whole version of the song. I don't know if someone's done this already, where you play the Kendrick song, and then when he says, "I wonder what Lecrae would do," and then you just insert the entire Lecrae song, and then "My heart like Dee-1, but I will," and then insert this entire song. He says, "What's up, Kendrick? We flipping tables, man." If you don't know, that's one of the more interesting and sometimes controversial passages of the Bible, where Jesus goes to the temple and he is upset at what he sees, and he flips over the tables of the people who are selling animals and exchanging money. I'll read the New International Version of Mark 11:15. On reaching Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple courts and began driving out those who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves, and would not allow anyone to carry merchandise through the temple courts. And as he taught them, he said, "Is it not written, my house will be called a house of prayer for all nations? But you have made it a den of thieves." The chief priests and the teachers of the law heard this and began looking for a way to kill him, for they feared the whole crowd was amazed by his teaching. So I like this because it's this crucial moment. And there's a lot of different ways of reading this. This has been misinterpreted many ways and used to further anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, so it's kind of a problematic portion of the text. The text does not support the anti-Semitic reading, but that's the way people read it. What are you going to do? People are going to be people. It's not God's fault. People are people. Maybe it is God's fault. Whole other question. But it's this kind of like righteous anger that he's talking about. So when he says we're flipping tables here, it's a very specific moment. And it's an idea of him and Kendrick together. And that's what I love about the Lecrae song and about this one, is that I don't think that Kendrick is actually trying to usher in Christian rap. I don't think he's trying, but what he's trying to do is he's trying to identify who are his allies for people who are true to what he perceives of as having a true voice. Not just trying to sell things, not just trying to bring merchandise through the temple, okay? And he finds it in these two figures who are so true to their faith. So it's just one of these great moments of badassery in the Bible. You know, what would Jesus do? He would flip over the tables. And also, this has nothing to do with anything. Do you know the story of Jesus and the fig tree? One time Jesus is walking around and he sees a fig tree and there's no figs on it. And he just straight up, like, just blows the whole thing up. He just gets so angry, like, calls down God's vengeance. It's a whole parable about, like, people who don't embrace the fecundity of faith and all that. But still, it's a very funny moment. Because, you know, you picture Jesus as this guy, you know, he's all gentle and all that. But it's like, no figs. Okay. Call it like it is. All right. Y'all done turned this culture trash. These so-called legends ain't legends. I don't care if they sold millions. Are you hearing their message? tying in again, I think, to this very important theme of too long rap music has put too much of an emphasis on how much you can sell. They're not legends if they sell because of their message. Poison in our whole community, everybody hypnotized. Why you think nobody respect black people, no big surprise. Not in the position to properly contextualize. That's me, okay? I am not in the position to properly contextualize this. I implore you to watch some black creators who have discussed the question of black conservatism, of what is called respectability politics. If you want a very popular YouTuber, FD Signifier, The Real Faces of Black Conservatism, I'll include a link to that in the description. A lesser known but excellent YouTuber named Sean Da Black has a video called How Respectability Politics Harms the Black Community. It's a very complicated issue. This kind of rhetoric of saying like, the reason that we are in the position we're in is because of how you are acting is quite problematic, right? Because like reactions to white supremacy and injustice do not cause the white supremacy and injustice, but at the same time, encouraging people to behave in ways that are positive and would lead to a better outcome for their life and for the community also makes sense. So I'm just going to defer any kind of conversation you might have I would start with the Sean video, Sean Da Black. It's really quite good. Call it like it is, and I love New Orleans, my city, but I love God way more. I don't care if none of y'all with me. The general theme, it's sort of general Christian theme. I like this because it's like very hyper specific, very hyper local, saying where he's from, but then also it doesn't matter, right? The basic theme. I mean, I don't know how much you listen to religious music. It's great. There's a lot of great religious music. And one of my favorites is this old kind of spiritual song called The World Is Not My Home. It's a feeling that we have. So Nolans is not actually his home. We celebrate being stupid and everybody's so gangster, but when you clock in for the white man, you be on your best behavior. This is what I'm talking about. This guy might have a chorus. It's like, call it like it is. But right here, he's discussing like a very real, interesting idea of like acting super gangster and then having to talk to white people and code switching and speaking with your best behavior. And listen, I'll tell you, code switching, people talk about code switching, but I don't think they talk about it enough. I feel it all the time. Like all the time, you know, when I have black students or, you know, I feel their acknowledgement of my race and how I am in my position and that whole history. And it's not said. It's not said. It's not a spoken thing. But it's very clear that they're mindful of that. And then I myself am mindful of it, right? Because that's the other thing. Code switching goes both ways. So anyways, it's fascinating because it's all rooted in power, right? So if people code switch because of power, and it's not, obviously it's not just a race thing, right? I mean, people from the South, when they come up north, will code switch, okay? A super white person will show up for trying to get a bank loan in New York City and will say, do you all have interest rates? They won't say, y'all have interest rates, okay? Whatever it is they're gonna say. You can tell I don't study economics. But still, the fact that it's being called out in this song is talking about this hypocrisy. Just edited a bunch of stuff out. I got a little bit out over my skis. So code switching is important. Yeah, call it like it is. Yeah, most of the media people laugh. It was never really cool before you got inside this here game. That's the craziest slant rhyme I've seen. Making a word rhyme that doesn't rhyme. Rhyming laugh with game? Hey, but he pulls it off. Instigating y'all being messy, y'all ain't helping nobody grow. Tell Joe Budden I'm on a mission, so don't butt in, Joe. I don't know what his problem is with Joe Budden. I like Joe Budden. I defend Joe Budden. I know there's problems with him. I like him. I don't know what this is about, but I find it very funny. It's just sort of like humor, you know? Again, it's that like really unassuming, super smart humor. Man, I'm going, no, ain't no pressure on me. I'm applying the pressure. I'm powered by God. There's a corny strength in this line that I just love. No pressure, I'm applying the pressure. I'm powered by God. Just beautiful. We're going to be all right. That's what Kendrick Lamar said. In the words of Lil Wayne, the sky's the limit. Yeah. So he's quoting the song, All Right, obviously by Kendrick Lamar, and the song, well, I'm not going to say the actual title of the song that people also call Sky's the Limit because it contains the N-word. But I didn't count how many times. I'm sorry. I can't help myself. I didn't count how many times Lil Wayne said the N-word. I didn't. It didn't even occur to me. But yeah, sky's the limit. Yeah, it's an interesting pull, right? Because I mean, sky's the limit is, I think, the most popular song off of that mixtape from 2007. But it's not like, you know, All Right is the biggest possible Kendrick Lamar song, I think, besides Not Like Us. And then Sky's the Limit is kind of a deep cut. And I don't know if that's on purpose, that he's doing a super deep cut. You know, he's not saying like, I'm gonna make a milli like Lil Wayne or whatever. But yeah, it's great, and it unites the two, and it does this whole thing. This whole thing started with the Super Bowl, and now a dude from Nolans is uniting the two. By the way, that's the main way that I fight code switching, is I make sure that if I ever have some kind of super goofy, like what might be perceived of as stereotypically white way of speaking, I make sure to not filter that out. So if I say something like, the dude, you know, the fellow, like I'll just say it, because like that's just how I naturally speak. And we get to the chorus, call it like it is, call it what it ain't. Even that is just like a really strong idea. Like, say what is and what isn't. Call me what you want to, I ain't on that train. So again, he doesn't care what people think, he's trying to make people think. I'm speaking from the soul, I don't care who's feeling it. Yeah, hip hop is dead and y'all the ones that killed that. Why does he say, feeling it killed that? This is a fascinating thing, because feeling it and killed that, he can make it work where it ends with the same word, but the penultimate word rhymes. So feeling and killing, you know, killed and feeling, like that works more or less as a slant rhyme in this case, right? A slant rhyme is like not a perfect rhyme, like it sort of works depending on how you pronounce it. So I'm speaking from the soul, I don't care who's feeling it. Yeah, hip hop is dead and y'all the one that killing it. Like that would have worked just fine. But just, it's his weird, I hear it as a Nolan style thing of just like, kill that. Like he's just taking on a different end and just intentionally not rhyming it. I don't know, it's great. I'm not impressed, and I say that with my chest. Don't call me preachy, refer to me as blessed, or call it like it is, call it what it ain't. The post-chorus, y'all boys claim to be some soldiers, but you soldiers ain't no soldiers. Man, I told you and I showed you. Rhyming soldiers and told you that's like the most Nolan's thing you could possibly do. I'm a soldier for life, stop playing dumb, it's good versus evil, it's only two sides. I'm going back to my initial video on the Kendrick Lamar song, where I discussed the history of the term Manichaean, which literally just means good versus evil. That's the way that we mean it. This is directly saying this is a Manichaean fight of good versus evil. There is Dee-1, Lecrae, and Kendrick Lamar's side, and then there's classes in session y'all need to attend, just like my shoe size. That's funny. Need to attend like my shoe size? That's cool. And also, that is the statistically average shoe size. That's my shoe size. It was. Did you know when you get older, your feet get bigger? Sucks, man. When I was younger, I always wanted my feet to be bigger, you know, because I thought that would, you know what to say, you know? So I thought, oh, my feet are bigger, that'll make me look cool. And then I started getting old, and my feet started growing, and now I just feel old. Like now I wear like size like 11s. And like I would have killed that wear size 11s when I was 20. Yeah, man, human beings are so stupid. Maybe we do need Jesus or something, because human beings are just stupid. Murder music hits different when somebody in my crew died. You know, I often talk about this on the channel because, you know, I have family friends, and like playing around on this porch during one of my daughter's birthday party was this girl named Brooke, and she went off to college and she took the wrong pill and she took fentanyl and she died. Okay, so like, goddamn, right? Little girl who played right here, right where I'm standing, right where I'm sitting. I'm not standing, I'm not Fantano. Like, that person died because of fentanyl. So whenever I hear rappers rap about crack, it doesn't affect me. But when they rap about fentanyl, it sort of bristles me, and I'm sort of like, man. And I'm aware of the contradiction, the hypocrisy of that, that like the second that it touches my world, I don't find it that pleasant, which helps me to understand why a lot of people, especially if you lived through the crack era, or if you've grown up in an era that's been afflicted by crack, a lot of the crack rappers is not sort of a cool kind of Wild West Jesse James sort of thing. It's like a, hey, that's a thing I've seen in my life. That's my life you're joking about. That's my life you're talking about. Okay? So, the biggest gangsters in rap got blonde hair and blue eyes. I'm a gangster. But it's great, right? It's just right out there. Obviously, it's true. There's that old, I think it's a Woody Guthrie line. Some people will rob you with a knife or gun, others with a fountain pen. This is that same basic idea. We getting pimped, what y'all want to do, guys. And then he switches into what I can only call a Cat Williams flow. Your new single dropped. Yeah, time to entertain us with new lies. Sorry, just checking. She's still asleep. That whole idea, trying to entertain us with new lies. Whoever said I'm canceled, man, I'm laughing at those people's face. I work for God, dummy. My impact could never be erased. Ladies and gentlemen, we have maybe my lyric of the year. I work for God, dummy. My impact could never be erased. He called me dummy. I don't know if this is a reference to Sanford and Son. I use the term dummy all the time because of the TV show Sanford and Son. You big dummy. I just say it all the time. It's a great insult. It turns out it's actually ableist, so we probably won't be saying it in 10 years, but while we can say it, I'm going to live it up. I work for God, dummy. My impact can never be... That's just great. Just calling you dummy. Like, think of all the things he could have called you. Dummy. Anyways, I just love that line. And then he ends the whole song with the newness and the oldness of himself. Tell America I'm still the same brother I used to be. Who? Kendrick. Oh, okay. Kendrick, you tell America I'm still the brother I used to be. Before y'all was introduced to me, consistency ain't new to me. This is what I'm talking about, like the kind of like Yogi Berra, Ringo Starr intelligence that he has. Consistency ain't new to me. If consistency is new to you, then you don't have consistency. Therefore, you don't have consistency. Consistency has to be old to you. This is a puzzle. This is an enigma. This is an impossible lyric. It's impossibly redundant. Consistency ain't new to me. God damn. How many tattoos am I going to get based on this video? Y'all just sold us with your foolery. And then he talks about the death of the party. And that dollar bill got y'all whipped. That's dead, man. It's the eulogy. Dollar bill got you whipped. Okay. At the risk of being a super duper duper white dude who purports to have the information about something. I don't know. Who's on the dollar bill? George Washington. What did George Washington do? He used slave labor. So to me, the image that I see is George Washington popping out of a dollar bill and trying to whip people. That's what I see. But again, and whoever said what they gonna do to me, man, I hit your whole block up. And then this is the punchline with prayers, man. Y'all ain't used to me. I love it. We're the ones who have to get used to him, and he's gonna hit our block up with prayers. And I love it. I love it. And then he has the beat's finished, loop it again. Why does he loop it again? Because that was the eulogy. It was over. The party's over. The worldly party is over. And now, depending on whether or not you're Kendrick and it's hip hop, or you're Lecrae and Dee-1, it's hip hop and Jesus' kingdom is now going to rise up in the place of the worldly and corrupted place where hip hop used to be. And so you have to have the chorus one more time so that the people in the second line can dance at this funeral. All right, thank you all for watching. Sorry about that edit in there. I didn't say anything bad or anything. I sort of said things in a way that was kind of like, I don't know. It's a problem with improvising most of my videos. I just have a note. I don't have a script. So it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure that's going to come out right. So anyways, that's that. Oh yeah, little fact. Did you know my dad sort of invented Christian rock? I'll include a link to that as well. He was a manager of a band, and he came up with the idea of the band performing in a church because he was a preacher. So anyways, I guess I do have some claim to popular forms of Christian music. What the hell does that mean? All right. Oh, the new feature on the show is my 2-year-old awake. Yes, she is rolling around. I better go get her. All right, there's the camera.